And you are live.
Thank you. Good evening to all of you out in virtual land. My name's Terry Lomax. I chair the Maritime Advisory Board. And as I say, as the beginning of each meeting, I'm going to go around my screen and introduce the panelists that we have here this evening. We have Andy Fagley, member of the board, Alan Miller, member of the board, Rita Wildy, member of the board, Mike Tomasini, member of the
Not
board.
much. So
Peter Trogdon, member of the board.
what are you doing? Awesome.
Ellis, Harbor Master.
It's a
Rick Nelson, member of the board. Our COA TV, Madeline, who was cutting in and out, but I think is good now. We have Hope Stewart from the city of Annapolis and our erstwhile recording person, Kimberly Consoli. And I think I've got everybody. So with that, we will just get started. The meeting will come to order, and the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the April meeting, which Kimberly has provided us. For some reason, mine didn't open, but she was kind enough to provide them again. So I have looked at it. I didn't have any substantive changes. Does anybody have any changes, or do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Tomasini has moved. Any second? Mr. Miller has
Second.
seconded. There being no discussion, all in favor say aye or raise your hand or something. Kimberly is unanimous, thank goodness. All right, that out of the way, we will move on. Oh, by the way, Hope, you sent me two comments that came in late this afternoon, which I had come to me directly anyway, but thank you. And I have forwarded both of them on to the members, and both deal with boat B&Bs and expressing concern, and you can read them at your when you have a minute, but basically expressing concern about allowing boat B&Bs, but you can read them when we get to that topic. If there's anything more substantive at this point from the harbor master, we can discuss it, but that it's been sort of on the back. It hasn't been on the back burner. It's just been not coming to us yet. But starting with the first item, the next item on the agenda, we have Frida. Did you have anything from? Was there a county MIAB meeting?
Despite my best attempts, they did not hold a meeting for the month.
I guess they knew you were coming, and they said, "Oh no, we're not going to have a meeting."
Don't want her.
All right, then we'll move right along, starting with economic development. Hope, what do you have to share with us?
Hi, so just on the front of the Economic Development Office's report, we currently have a commercial vacancy rate citywide of 5.6, so we're holding steady with that. Eastport continues to be one of our lowest areas in terms of vacancies. Our team provided outreach and assistance to 25 businesses. There were 2 ribbon cuttings in the city back in April, including Chronic Sailing, and 2 that we participated in the county. And the state of Maryland continues to provide assistance to businesses impacted by the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. We're not aware of any Annapolis businesses that were impacted, but we continue to have resources available if anybody should feel the effects of it.
What is Chronic Sailing?
It is a new sailing business that I think it's in Port Annapolis now. So they do charters, and yeah, you should definitely check them out.
It's an unusual name for a sailing outfit. I don't think I've ever heard the word chronic and sailing
together. Yes, but they're a great new team, and we're excited to have them in the city.
Good. We will have to look into finding them at Port Annapolis the next time I'm down Edgewood Road. Any more update on the Maritime Task Force annual reports?
So, as we discussed last time, as we discussed also with the Planning Commission and Alderman Arnett, we are now revisiting ways that we can make this more impactful and effective for our needs within the city. As you know, we continue to get a low response rate on our annual reporting for the maritime zones. So we are currently looking at that, and also the alderman and the director of planning and zoning did get together as well to discuss a new task force to look at these zones.
All right, and in that same regard, there, for some reason, I kept getting an email from Alderman Arnett about a meeting with planning and zoning a week ago from last Friday. I showed up and Mr. Jakubiec and I looked at each other and said, "Why are we here?" Because it turns out there was not a meeting. The meeting, I think, was just last Wednesday. But I did have an opportunity to sit down with Christian Kubiak, who's the Director of Planning and Zoning, and I reviewed with him particularly the reporting requirements, as well as the requirement for a task force and the limited scope of the task force that was to look at the impact on small maritime businesses. It was not to reopen the zoning. That's in the purview of the Planning Commission on a 4-year basis. And so there are sort of two parallel things going on, and I discussed that with him, and I believe that's what he was then following up with Alderman Arnett about. It was basically an off the record meeting, and I just shared with him my knowledge from 025-21 and also R124 and how the two interrelated or didn't interrelate. And so we'll see. I understand that probably there will be perhaps the task force that's contemplated by 025-21, the one-time task force for the impact on small maritime businesses. But I leave that to Mr. Jakubiak and Alderman Arnett to sort that out. And if there's anything else, I told Mr. Jakubiak to certainly reach out to me if he felt I could be of any assistance, or anybody on the board could be of any assistance. So that's kind of where that stands. I haven't heard anything more back from that. I did also share with him the fact that the report that was provided by 2227 was a fairly extensive report that addressed most of the topics in a more straightforward and analytical manner than some of the other reports that had come in. And Hope, you might just remind that the annual reports are not just on there's two components to the annual report. One is the first part is the report regarding your non-maritime use. The second report, and that's required of any of the businesses that have a non-maritime use. The second half of the report, or the second part of the report, is actually a report that is required of all property owners within the WMM, WMI, WME, and WMC shall provide an annual listing of maritime uses. And I think there may have been some confusion that not everybody had to report, but you did. There is a requirement that all businesses report, and then those that have a non-maritime office, I believe it was limited to office, a non-maritime component, those business, any property owner with professional office and or non-maritime retail sales shall submit a report on those uses. So there are two uses that hopefully the word will get out that A, everybody has to report something, and B, that the office and retail have a separate reporting requirement. Yes, Frida.
Terry, are you a member of this new task force?
It hasn't been appointed. As far as I know, I would anticipate that somebody off the board, whether it be me or someone on the board, I would hope would be part of it. And I suspect it would draw on, members from the O25 task force, bigger task force. But I don't know what Mr. Alderman Arnett and Director Jakubiec are discussing at the moment in terms of.
Okay, I just didn't know how far along they were. Thank you.
I don't think they're very far along. I mean, I just talked to him on a week ago, last Friday, and the meeting he anticipated with Alderman Arnett was going to be like last Wednesday. So I don't think they're very far along.
Yes, and as Mr. Lomax pointed out, this one will be focused more on smaller businesses and smaller marinas, but we do definitely intend to have maritime tasks that mirror the Maritime Advisory Board participation and input.
All right, Beth, up top, Mike.
Real quick, just for hope, I had some extra time in my hands this past week in the car, so I did watch yours and Steven's presentation to the Planning Commission. Is there a copy of that report? Because I found the information in that one to be really thorough and kind of well thought out. Do you guys have that electronically?
I will ask, Steve has the full report, so I'm going to ask him to send it to the entire Maritime Advisory Board.
That'd be great, because I
You can see what
think
was
it'd be
provided.
informative for all of us. Thanks, Hope.
Yes.
Thank you. Beth, Harbor Masters report. I didn't see an update this month.
Was updated, so it's shared with everybody. So every time you go in, it will be updated. I can delete everybody and reshare it, but if you go into Google and click on shared with me, that's updated.
I'm sorry. You're really garbled, and I'm trying to figure out where we go to do that, because the last few months it's just come as an email that I could to the board, and I don't recall a link even to share something.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear
fair.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So this is always shared with everyone. So it's always updated. I'm not able to update it until the day before or the day of, because I have to rely on city input. But if you go to Google Drive and go to shared with me, it's always shared with everyone.
Well,
What I try to do is I try to highlight the updates to make it easy for everyone. And what I've done in the past, because I think there are folks that don't do a lot of Google Docs, is I remove your access and then I put it back so then you get the email. But you don't need the email. You always have access, even if I don't do that.
well, if you would, that's well and good, but there must be a link or something, which at least I don't have, maybe somebody else does, that gets me into Google Docs, because Google Docs is not a usual thing that I use.
Well, if you have a Google profile, if you just click on the 9 dots and go to Drive and click on Share with Me, then you will find it every time. But if it's a good idea, I can remove everyone's access and put it back in every single month. That's fine.
Well, and one of the reasons that is most helpful is because rather than have you go through it item by item by item, and Kimberly make notes item by item by item, and then have to type them item by item by item, she is able to import the updates, and as per the current minutes, those updates are now part of the minutes, and it is much more expeditious to be able to do it that way than it is to go into Google Docs and everybody try to find Google Docs, etc. I'm going to ask that you just go back to the old-fashioned method of just save a copy, send it around, if it's updated by, if not everybody gets their update in, then we see that somebody has not updated yet. Or you can make a note, no update from, XYZ. But for Kimberly's sake, at the very least, it's going to be most helpful for her to be able to go into, just have a document that she can import or adopt into the minutes and not have to go retyping everything.
I can certainly do that. I would just say that if we do that, then, so I guess my question is, do you not want the notes that are previous, because the history is there, if I share that? So do you not, I guess we could talk offline
Right.
as to how you want this.
Yeah, let's just talk. Give me a call in the morning when you have a minute, and we can sort out what the easiest way to do it. But certainly I want to make it as simple for Kimberly as well as the rest of the board as possible. Mike?
Although it just, if I'm correct, Beth, it's just, if I just did a search on Google Docs and it popped up with your name and then I clicked on the report. So isn't that effectively what Terry's asking for?
Well, I'm not looking at Google Docs, so I don't know if it's what I'm asking for.
Oh, no, it's saying, Terry, if I just went to my email and typed Google Docs into the search, and then it came up with this document, or is that maybe that was the one from April? Maybe it's not the one from May. Excuse me.
You don't know.
It's constant.
Because I always put the date at the top. So always say Maritime Advisory Board meeting, 5/21/24 in this example. But I can send that as a document. The only caveat to that is if I make last minute changes, I have to continue emailing that. And if we do a Google Doc, then people have comments. But if we don't want that, I can.
Let's just, you and I,
Just keep sending out a
let's
document.
talk offline when I have an ability to pull it up and see what it looks like in Google Docs and find out how we can simplify this, not only for the board, but for Kimberly.
Sure.
Mike, you had a question.
Yeah, just a comment. So I was able to get to it. I have multiple Google Drives because of all the other stuff that I'm involved in. But on my main email where Beth shared the original report, I was able to click on that link and pull up the updated report just by getting a verification code to my the email I use for this board. So it was fairly straightforward. And I think that format probably allows you, Beth, to kind of update it over time and then have the most current document in our hands right at the board meeting. So if everybody can kind of still get at it from that initial link, it might be good because it allows Beth to kind of not have to do all the updates, especially during the summertime when she's the busiest, all.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yep. I accessed the 416 email that had the Google Docs in it. And then, yeah, it has the 5/21 update. Correct.
But what you're saying is we need to go back to the 416 email in order to click on. And heretofore, we've just gotten an email each month to click on. So Beth and I'll get this sorted out. I don't want to make it overly complicated, but I also want to make it as simple as possible for Kimberly in particular. All right. For those of you that have it up, or Beth, you can tell us, is there anything of any significance on any of the items? Because I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at the one from the April minutes. But is there anything of particular significance being updated at this point?
Yeah. So I'll give the highlights. In particular, Truxton Park report has come to us from the contractor. I added it to the document. I sent everyone an email. I sent an email that has the result from the electrical engineer. or the maritime engineer. And everyone should have that email, I hope.
And the short version is,
What I would say is, the city has not accepted the report as final. It's a good report, but it doesn't answer pointed questions. So I'm going back to them, but what I would say is they did find significant electrical current in the water, and they said the readings that they did in the off-boating season may not be representative of the readings that they may get during the boating season. So while those readings were moderate or marginal, they would expect that it's possible the readings that they would get now in the boating season would be bigger. What we need to go back to them and find out is, okay, fine, but what we need is, we need, should do this or you shouldn't do that. So we need we need them to come to the table with, these activities are safe, these activities are not safe, and they have not done that. So I'm going to go back to them with some pointed questions, and then we will schedule a meeting with council.
okay, I guess if it is increased readings during voting season and decreased readings in the off season, one can either conclude that warmer water enhances the readings, or there's something coming out of boats that enhances the readings, or maybe the fish are more active in the middle of the boating season. But
Roads plug into the paddle. And I'm gonna guess that, I mean, Fagan might have more ideas than any of us, but I think there's a lot of things at play here.
all right, well, we'll take a look at the report, and it sounds like there's still no concrete conclusion that as to A, what's causing it, and B, how to fix it. And so we'll just muddle through another month and see what happens. It just seems unusual that as many people have looked at this, we can't come up with a reason and or a solution. But Mr. Fagley is more expert at that than I am, so maybe he'll put his thinking cap on for us.
I promise to remain quiet.
I'm trying to encourage you to be noisy.
And retired.
Okay. Beth, you also asked me to add, and I added it down under the harbor master comments regarding the Burtis House harbor master office, and also a capital budget item that really kind of falls to you. You want to tell us what your comments are, concerns are about the harbor master office / Burtis House?
Yeah. The contractors or the administration or the contractors and administration together have put us on the PG Street side of the new building. And essentially, we wouldn't have any view of the harbor. And they put conference rooms. I mean, there's a million things that we looked at that gave us a lot of heartburn. Because the conference rooms that they're putting on the harbor side of things will not be often occupied, or even if they are, we won't be able to do a really good job of managing our harbor because you can't see anything. And cameras are fine, but that's not the same thing. So what I would say is right now our building is perfect, it's in a perfect spot. We get it, that it needs to be leveled, and we understand the value of the new stuff that's going in. But we need to be on the harbor side of things. We need to be on the Ego Alley side to be able to not just see our slips, also to see our employees. We kind of know that we might have to have a tent or a place for seasonal employees to cool down. But we have to supervise those people. So we have tons of concerns about the new concept. And we have an upcoming meeting with the architects. And we're really hoping that somebody will hear us, because Jackie Dial, who's the deputy city manager, definitely hears us, and she definitely understands what it is we're concerned about. So we're hoping for a more positive concept moving forward.
So is the issue, from what I am getting from, and again, you tend to, you tend to have come across garbled on your speaker. But what I am getting, I think, is that the size, the square footage that is allocated for the harbor master office is perhaps adequate, but the location within the building is inadequate. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. However, the additional issue is that they have our employees either going down an elevator or down a set of steps and around and about. So the physical demand on a dock assistant is going to be absurd. And it's not just the physical demand. The other issue is that we won't be able to see them. I mean, these are 16-year-olds or 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds. And so we know that we're going to have to give up our proximity, but we need to have that view to give the best service for the public.
And I thought that's what I was saying, is that the location in the building is not adequate, but the size of the space for the harbor master's office is adequate.
Additional issue is that there have people come through this Maritime Welcome Center. And in our view, we don't want our customers to have to do all of that. And I guess we have to look at a floor plan to explain that further.
Probably so, because I'm not understanding the location of stairwells, the locations of elevators are, I won't say they're fixed, but they're typically a little more constrained as to where they may go because they serve more than one area. And you wouldn't have just in a small building, a dedicated stairwell or a dedicated elevator just to go to one space. So there's going to have to be a sharing of not only facility, but sharing of access somewhere along the way, it seems to me. And again, not having the floor plan, it's a little difficult to see where the proposed accesses are, but it just seems that there's going to have to be some degree of sharing.
If sharing is have to go around and about, I'm an architect, but I would say there are ways to get a faster exit and entrance to the building.
You can go to the old-fashioned concept of a firehouse, and you can get rapid exit with a fire pole, but that's probably not very practical for ingress.
I was going to say zip line. You jumped me with the fire pole.
Obviously, for the rest of you, everybody out in virtual land, that was a tongue-in-cheek observation. That was not a recommendation. But Beth, do you have a copy of the floor plan? Your lips are moving, but we can't hear you.
You still can't hear me?
Now, well, you just came back on.
I shared some conceptual with everyone 4 or 5 days ago. We had to take photos from like a council meeting because we didn't get them. So we did photos from the computer, like the screenshots, and then we shared them. But if you didn't get them, I can send them again.
I'll ask the rest of the board. I don't recall seeing them because your comments to Jackie Guild were oral, and when I had emailed you, you didn't have anything in writing to share unless I've missed something. But if you could share even conceptual floor plans, so we at least, when we're talking about this and looking at this, we have an idea what we're talking about. Frida.
Well, I got Beth's comments about the proposed design and use and everything. And Beth, I thought it was wonderful. You had thought of every possible scenario and emergency factors and how to handle that. And I spent a lot of time in the harbor master's office when Rick was there on various projects and things, and went on the water with him. And I thought you did an excellent job of laying out, you know, different uses and why you need more visibility. And I just thought your comments were wonderful. So I was able to open them.
I saw those written comments, and it was in the but what I didn't see, yeah, it was titled City Dock Harbor Master Office Requests, and it was a 2.5-page list, but it didn't, I didn't see I saw the narrative, but there was no floor plan as to what the issue was with respect to the actual location.
So if you look at my Wednesday, May 15th email at 1:45 p.m., there's a building plan attachment, and there's also the city council meeting. And the building plan email has all of those screenshots of the floor plan.
And what was the date?
It's May 15th at 1:45 p.m.
All right. I'll make the assumption that a 13, 15, okay.
I get it.
Not there.
I can send it again.
I'm just looking to see what we have here. May 15th was last Wednesday.
I just sent it again. That's
Okay.
all.
All right, you just sent it again?
I did.
All right, let's just see what.
So I've got something at my door. I will be back in 30 seconds.
Did Beth say there were pictures at the bottom of this email, or did I just hear her wrong?
It's what I have able to open is a floor plan, and I don't know that I can do I don't think I can do Oh, maybe I can. Let's look here and see. All right, I just shared my screen, which I assume everybody can see. So there are 3 sets of floor plans. This is, okay, there's some pictures at the bottom. More pictures and more pictures. What is not abundantly clear is which side is which in these floor plans. Where is Prince George Street? Where is City Dock? Where's the water?
So Terry, if you scroll back up to that top one. Yep, perfect. Prince George Street's going to be over on your right because that's the Burtis house on the right. So that'll be Prince George Street.
Okay,
The park will be to the left. And if you're looking at it, the water would be at the bottom because that's where that
Yep,
proposed desk is. So Harbor Master lobby, it looks like you're, see what Beth was pointing out was that staircase that comes up on the Prince George's or the Burtis side of the building is coming up or down and into the proposed Harbor Master's lobby there from the backside, from the Burtis house side. And then Harbor Master's office will be second floor Burtis house. Is that right, Beth?
Like situations, it's my weak point, and this is why Tyler is my perfect right hand man, and I wish he was online right now. But it always takes me a minute to kind of figure out which side is which.
Right. But so the two things there that you pointed out, Beth. Number one, if your second floor office, if the view of Eagle Alley for the most part is obscured by the roof of the new Maritime Welcome Center, then you're not getting a real great view from there. And then 2, if any of your staff are going out to do any kind of docking on Eagle Alley, they're going down a back stairwell or coming around the backside to get into an elevator to go downstairs.
I think the pros now spot seems like a wonderful idea. It's like a bunch of deck space. I don't know how well that will be used. And yeah, I just don't know how much that's going to be used. And then my other concern about this is like this voter. Gosh, let's look at when we scroll down and look at the voter lounge. The voter lounge is also a concern for me. I don't know who it's going to be accessible to. But you know, everybody wants a laundry and everyone wants a hot shower if they're a voter. But if we make this too big and it's accessible to too many people, my concern is that there will be vandalism. There could be other crimes happening there. And it will end up to be like, I don't know who's going to have it. Like right now, we already have a big problem with homelessness. And we already have some problems of people like sleeping in our bathrooms and drug use, but we already have that problem. So if we create this voter lounge, and if we don't control the access, because this floor plan is concerning to us, who's going to be sleeping there, and will it be secure for our voters? Like, we have a lot of concerns about that as well.
so the access to the boater lounge is through the Burtis house. Is that what I'm seeing?
It's not clear to me.
I couldn't understand that.
It's not clear to me. We're also not sure what the Waterman's co-op looks like. And what I would say is, if Market House is not productive, I don't know why we would create a competitor for Market House. Like, I'm not sure what the vision is there.
All right, let's go back to the 3rd floor for starters. And is your concern that what is labeled as the Harbor Master Conference Suite, 899 square feet, should be the Harbor Master's office? and the Harbor Master Conference Suite should be where it says Burtis House, Harbor Master HQ?
Yes, to your first question. I'm not sure for your second question. What I think is this is not going to be for the harbor master. I think that there are city officials or someone that wants this to be for other folks, which is fine. But it just needs to be flipped. So it's perfectly fine if you want to have meetings or conferences or social events, which will still have a great view. But that's not a harbor master's conference suite. It's actually a meeting room, which I feel like it's being veiled as that, but it's actually not.
But Beth, my question is, where, let's ask it a different way. Where on this plan do you think the harbor master's headquarters, the harbor master office, the working office should be?
It needs to be entirely flipped.
I'm sorry, it needs to be where?
Flipped. It needs to be flipped. So the harbor master's office needs to be entirely on the other side of the building.
Well, tell me in which of these spaces you think it ought to be, because the other side of the building is 3 sides.
So I really wish Heather was on this call, but I think our vision is that the harbor master's office would be over on the crow's nest. Can you scroll down so I can see?
Well, this is the floor that the office is on.
Okay, but I just want to look one more time at the lower level.
Okay, as I see it, there's nothing on the lower level that has the harbor master's office associated with it.
Sure, you're right. So if I scroll back up, as I understood it, it needs to be entirely flipped. So our office's conference suite is different than, where's our actual office?
Isn't it back here?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. That's bad.
It's a,
That probably needs to be right where the crow's nest is.
okay, up here. That's a smaller space at the moment. Doesn't mean it can't be perhaps reconfigured, but that's a smaller space at the moment.
I think Mike has some good ideas.
So the crow's nest, Terry, is being proposed as a deck. It's not actually enclosed building space.
Okay, but it's a footprint that can be, you know, we're not there yet, but
Right.
I'm just trying to get a feel for where Beth believes the harbor master's working harbor master's office should be for the reasons that she set forth. And it sounds like it either needs to be where the harbor master conference suite is or where the crow's nest is. Crow's nest has a view out to the harbor as well as to the city dock. Harbor master's conference suite has a view to the city dock. If I'm oriented correctly.
I guess to be fair, it would be really helpful for me if I could remind myself as to which areas are where is the line, where is the bird stock? Because we have these conversations, and to be transparent, it's gotten confusing for me.
Well, if Mr. Tomasini is correct, and I believe he is, where my cursor is out that way is the Burtis dock. Out this way is perhaps the dock next to what we would call the big Burtis dock, the little dock. Out this way is the basin between the city dock and that smaller finger pier. Going this direction, you're looking at basically Susan Campbell Park reinvented. Out this way, you're looking back downtown, and this way, the Burtis House is looking at the Naval Academy. And Prince George Street runs down here. Mike, is that your interpretation, Mike?
That's that's the way it looks. Plus that proposed in the bottom right, my screen, that proposed outdoor classroom I've seen or outdoor learning center has been proposed in other meetings, outdoor classroom. That is literally like right on the water in front of the long dock area, like either just or just in between the long dock and the end of Prince George Street. So.
Okay. Okay. Right. So Beth, with whom and when is your next meeting to discuss this?
So probably be.
I cannot, can the city get you a better microphone? Your lips are moving, no sound. No,
Well, while we're trying to reconnect with Beth, I just, what are we being asked to opine on? I mean, things such as the boaters, lounge, or are we the location and the view from, for the harbor master of the harbor?
I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to ascertain. What, if any, I mean, it sounds to me like the city needs to reconsider the layout of the second floor as in order to accommodate the concerns that Beth has expressed in terms of visibility of the area that she's supposed to be in charge of.
Yep, which makes sense. Although I will say, I think she cited that she'll be using cameras that have eyes on a number of areas of the harbor. So I guess the question is how many cameras versus direct view. The other thing I understand what Beth's saying in terms of you may get people sleeping in the boaters lounge, but I'd hate to get rid of amenities that we had one for visitors because we don't think we can keep out certain people. I mean, it just that's not right.
Right.
That we get bunkered in because of a few people. So
no, and access can be, access is not perfect, but there are keypads, there are key cards. Hotels, don't have a problem with making sure the rooms are accessible by only those that have, the right credentials. So,
right.
I mean, that's an operational issue. That should not be the tail wagging the dog to say we're going to throw out a boater lounge because we think it may become, somebody may sleep in it.
Yes.
Not a boater that comes in and is doing laundry at 11 o'clock at night may fall asleep.
Yep.
But all right. So Beth, do you have any specific proposals in terms of relocation of layout vis-a-vis this floor plan as opposed to just generally your concerns about not having view and from a particular area? I mean, in other words, have you made a proposal that says the harbor master office, for the reasons I've stated, should be located in the corner of the crow's nest in an enclosed portion of the building, and an open area be relocated to some other location?
What's his list?
That was unintelligible. I mean, I don't mean that you weren't intelligent, but it was totally unable to understand it. I'll tell you what, in the interest of time, let's move, and maybe Beth can get her microphone working more reliably, but let's move to the next item, which is Alan Ure and Scott Allen's local maritime recognition program.
How's my mic working?
Just fine.
Okay. Yeah, Scott and I didn't get together last month. We have to this month. I think it's about time to go ahead and make some recommendations as far as what places we're thinking about putting signs or plaques or things like that. Maybe even go down the road of some names, because we've got to get some of that to get some momentum behind where we're going to put it and how we're going to pay for it. So I think that's what Scott and I are going to talk about this month, and then whoever else he wants to bring into the conversation,
Okay.
just to keep the ball rolling.
At some point, as you determine and you start thinking locations, it might behoove to reach out to I guess it's Burr Vogel as Public Works, just to see that, I'm sure they have requirements in terms of signs and kiosk or whatever. So as you think about locations, before you get too far down that road, to see if it's going to interfere with a yield sign or a stop sign or something that they know is coming and we don't. That's my only 2 cents worth on that.
Oh, absolutely. We'll check with everybody, and they've actually got a pretty decent plan with some of the historic plaques and signs that they've already put down. So we got to kind of fall into that a wee bit.
Okay.
Make sure we're on the same page with that. And then I'll talk to Scott, but my druthers would be to put something down on a piece of paper and then just bring it up here at the board and let smarter minds than I look at it and poke holes in it, make sure we're going in the right direction, and then move on from there.
Okay. That is a plan. I haven't heard anything more regarding the pump out infrastructure, except that we may be hopefully making some inroads into at least getting some infrastructure in. Where the ultimate pump out goes and when it goes in is a different is perhaps a different question. There are locations that have been offered that are less publicly exposed than some, but frankly, those of us that have been familiar with pump out facilities at commercial marinas, they are they do not pose a particular noise or ongoing interference with other activities on docks. And certainly they can be located such that that is the case, and hours of use limited so that it's not in the middle of a Thursday night concert on city dock. But again, somewhat like the boater lounge, those are timing and accessibility issues. But the general concept to be able to have a pump out facility on city dock I think remains core to the city dock infrastructure. So we'll just keep reminding everybody of that as we go forward. And the comprehensive plan status, the city council has voted to increase the time for the city doc, for the comprehensive plan. And I don't think anything's going to actually come in terms of more definite council action or recommendations much before the summer recess in August. So we'll just stay tuned on that one. And that brings us back to hopefully Beth maybe is back online. I had listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items from the city capital budget that were seemed specifically oriented towards the waterfront or on the water. And I was just going to have Beth explain, and we may just defer that until we get a better microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Let's do it this way. So if you look at item 5B, capital budget, we'll find out if it's working or not. If you just tell us what the city dock boater electrical upgrade item is all about.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, so I'm on my phone now, so hopefully this is better.
that's much better.
So we are applying for a grant. We just applied for a grant to upgrade all of our power pedestals. They're a bit outdated, and times are changing. So we'd like to have things to be state of the art. So there are boats now that need 3-phase electrical. So we're waiting to see if we're going to get this grant. I'm reasonably confident that we will. And we'd like to upgrade all of our power pedestals because they're old and they're not doing well. So they trip breakers. And so we'd like them to be up to date and also have maybe more 100 amp service and maybe some 3-phase service to just make everything updated and new.
And that leads to 2 questions. Are these pedestals currently located in areas that are going to be torn up by the city dock and resiliency work, or they sit out on the finger piers that are not going to be affected?
So as we've understood it, none of them will be torn up. Everything will be landside, and as we've understood it, they won't be affected by the rebuild.
Okay. And if you were switching to 3-phase 100 amp, it sounds to me like that implies that you're going to need some upgrade, revamping, feeding into those pedestals coming in from the area that is going to be affected. Am I correct?
I wish I could answer that, but I can't.
I'm not going to get Mr. Fagley to opine.
Yeah, we've discussed all of this with the Director of Public Works, so he's weighed in, but I'm not sure I understand all of that, unfortunately.
All right, because that would seem to me to be, if you're bringing in 100 amp service and 3-phase service, that it's not just going to happen at the pedestal. It's going to have to come in through the redone city dock, and it's going to need to be coordinated with that, but that's just an observation.
No, that's a really good point, and we definitely are involving Burr Vogel. So we've thought of that, but I couldn't answer the specifics.
Okay. Public mooring replacement. I saw that was something like 52 of the moorings are being replaced.
That's not ringing a bell for me. What I know this project to be is we're trying to revamp the St. Mary's mooring field. So that mooring field accommodates a boat up to 35 feet in length and is
underutilized. So what we're trying to do is move those moorings so that it can accommodate up to a 55-foot boat. Because those moorings are largely empty. So our goal there is to move those out and make it more accessible and more utilized.
So the line item is public mooring replacement, $99,750 for the cost of labor and supplies to replace the buoys, chains, and associated tackle on 52 transient moorings on Spa Creek. It doesn't,
Okay.
it doesn't seem,
Okay, I know what you're saying now. So currently, every 4 years, we have to replace all the tackle for our moorings. And currently, we've had to like scrimp and figure out how we can finance this. So now we've decided to put this in as a capital budget so that every 4 years, the money's available. So essentially, this is a maintenance contract.
okay?
That's
And
what I was speaking about St. Mary's.
so is the 52, all of them the same year every 4 years, or is it, 10 a year for 4, or 12 a year for 4 years?
I'm not sure how they've structured that. Financially, I'm not sure they've structured that, and I don't know why it's 52 instead of 76. So I know about this CIP, but I don't know why it's 52 and not 76.
Okay. The next, but at least we know what the item is. The next item are several waterway improvement projects. 4th Street at Back Creek. What is proposed there? That's been an issue, I believe, that Scott and I thought is it either 3rd or 4th has been an issue with some major issues that Scott Allen has brought up regularly. Is that the same street, or is that 3rd Street he's talking about?
I couldn't say as to what Mr. Allen is saying, but I could say 4th Street just needs some big repairs. So essentially, like, the pilings are not connected to the top of that street. It's in disrepair. So the grant that we've secured is going to repair that.
Okay. This is the area in front of Davis's, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know whether there's any proposal to expand the size of that small dock?
I wish we could. I really wish we could. It's such a great spot, and there's so few spots in Back Creek. However, there isn't room. So I can't figure. So no.
Okay. And what is proposed for Shipwright Street?
So Shipwright is just repair and a better floating dock. It's not in terrible shape, but it just needs a redo.
Okay. Now, Truxton Pump House Road is the road that leads down to was that a bike trail or walking trail across the marshland at the headwaters of Spa Creek?
I think so.
I mean, that's the road. It goes down between the pool and the recreation field or whatever that is there. And it dead ends to that little walkway that takes you over to Bates or wherever it goes on the other side.
So I think coming from the pool, you're constantly moving off to your left, if I'm correct. And I don't know what you have in mind. But so I haven't been party to all of that. But yes, that's what I think I understand.
And then Hawkins Cove is the cove that comes in behind the HACA office on the Eastport side on Spa Creek. Frankly, if you were to go up to the Truxton ramp and turn left, you would go on up into Hawkins Cove.
Yes, I think that's what I understand. Yes.
And I think Jackie Guild or somebody came and already gave us some. I mean, that's been a focus of the restoration, shoreline restoration for some time now.
It has.
That's in the budget sometimes. All right, I just wanted to get identification as to where that, or confirmation as to where those items were, where the focus was for those items.
Sure.
All right, Beth, back on the Burtis House Harbor Masters layout. I think perhaps for us, it might be helpful if you could, in the interim between now and our next meeting, give us some specifics, either by way of a sketch or something as to, or using the existing plan as to where you believe the visibility that, well, where the efficient and best use of the third floor space is for your office, and in particular, focused on the fact that you need to be able to see the area that you're supposed to be in charge of. And having a few cameras just doesn't get it, frankly, because they're, number one, the camera doesn't move around. The camera's eyes don't move around like human eyes do. And so as something develops on a city dock, whether it be somebody who doesn't know how to dock or some other type incident, having to be able to look out the window and see it makes sense. I kind of hearken it to aircraft control towers. Yes, the computers and controllers are in dark rooms, but they have a visibility of the runway. So
Yeah, that's really valid. And what I would hope to give to this team is some bulleted points, but also at the next meeting, I need to involve Tyler. Because
Okay.
I'm very good at verbal things, but spatially, it's a challenge for me. And so I'm sure that he will be better at describing what we need and why this is not good.
well, and I'll call it the four corners of the building and its height and its location are, I think, becoming fairly cast in stone or brick or something. So what we are down to is more the nitty gritty of where do you put the walls on the inside? We're not moving the walls on the outside. Probably that horse has left the barn already. But certainly the configuration of the various rooms on and integration into the Burtis House probably is something that can be worked with if the city is willing to consider the concerns that you have. And maybe that's where we can be of some assistance in supporting the idea that you need to have literally eyes on the ground and boots on the ground. I can see, an architect and HPC's concern that you don't necessarily want the steps running right out onto City Dock or Susan Campbell Park. And there maybe have to be an accommodation as to where the entrances are. But certainly the visibility to see what's going on and to be able to stand up with a view and direct somebody with a radio does make a lot of sense.
Well, we would be very grateful for just a review. We would be very grateful for this team to review it.
I'm going to leave it on the agenda, and we have a June meeting. All right, that is I believe, the extent of everything I had on the agenda. I will turn to the members to see if there's anything. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Let me get rid of this stop sharing. So I'm see everybody. There we go. I'll just go around. Frida, you have your hand up.
Yes, Terry. The comments that we received from the online forum through the city website, will you be responding to those?
Frankly, I haven't read them in detail. But I think they both, one of them I know definitely addresses boat B and Bs. Was the other one also a boat B and B issue?
Yes, I believe the lady just asked what was the plan for boat B and Bs. It was a very short message,
Right.
unlike the other one.
I guess, Beth, what is the status of the boat B and B legislation? Is it still with the Office of Law?
So so if you look on your Google Doc, and I will reshare that to make it easy for everybody. There's a draft for the House barge legislation, and to be transparent, I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with it because if I have an Airbnb, I can just call it a charter. So I've asked the Office of Law to include some language in the new legislation, and I don't know that they're going to oblige. So I'm going to reshare this. And if you scroll down and look at the highlighted stuff, well, if you scroll down, you're going to see what the draft is. And then if you look at the highlighted stuff, you will see what I've asked them to include. And I think they have said, no, thank you. So I think if I have an Airbnb, which is a boat, or short-term rental, as we call it, I can just say, oh, it's a charter, and I will be able to skirt all this legislation. And unfortunately, I won't be able to do any enforcement. So essentially, in my view, the pending legislation is going to be entirely pointless because we've already been to court on these matters. And so I'm concerned. So I will share that so you can review it. It's a little tedious, to be fair.
And it's not, but the legislation is draft. It has not been introduced. It's not referred to any committee. It is just strictly the draft within the Office of Law.
I think you're right. I know it's supposed to go to council, but I don't know that status.
Right. I don't think it's gone to council yet.
It hasn't, but I don't know if it's pending.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully if the two commentators were listening, they can at least know that it's not imminent. It may be in progress. Something may be in progress, but it's not at council yet. And eventually it will come to this board, as well as I'm sure it'll come to two or three other committees, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity to comment both at committee, at this board, and at council. So all I can say at this point is probably stay tuned. But Beth, if you will share that with us, that would be helpful.
Certainly.
Mr. Miller.
Yeah, maybe just a question for us, the board. Do we have a position on these houseboats and some of this legislation? We spent a lot of time talking about the minutia, what insurance, what fire protection, but has the board made its position clear? Is that appropriate for us to make a position? Just thought I wanted to bring it up.
The board made it clear 10 years ago when we endorsed the current legislation that says you can have a houseboat in a marina that has more than 50 slips. And at the time, the concept of short-term rentals was really not a concept that was very prevalent. And secondly, since they were limited to a marina, commercial marina, basically that's 50 slips, I believe, if my recollection serves me, is that the policing of the use of that houseboat would be something that the marina operator would be interested in, because it's affecting 49 other of his customers. And so there was what we didn't, and under that legislation, there's not that many marinas with 50 slips. So it was not going to be a major problem. the issue, and again, it was geared a bit more towards, liveaboards in a houseboat as opposed to the concept of a short-term rental, although that there was an aspect of that. So we'll probably have to revisit the bigger concept, but I think people have just been raising all the details that you've got Coast Guard implications, you've got life safety implications, you've got fire access, emergency access onto the property implications, on top of the normal STR issues, character of neighbor,
Yeah, so
et cetera.
yeah, I would just say that I do think if it's probably worth further debate if we're asked for a view as a group. I mean, there's so much, it seems to me, kind of anecdotal evidence or testimony that some of the respondents, just surmising that if somebody's on an Airbnb on a boat, then they're going to be partying and, they're not going to come back, so they don't care about what neighbors think. It's just that they could behave that way, or maybe they don't. So I think if it is an issue, then whether it's this group or the city council, they'll hear testimony on that. The other thing too, I'd say is, if you think it is a good thing to have, just restricting it, as the legislation 10 years ago to 50 slip marinas, this kind of fits into a topic we had earlier, which is this issue in terms of small marinas, and them asking kind of a review under the kind of the report that came out, the legislation that came out for the Marine Advisory Committee. And, there's a 20 slip marina, should they be penalized, and a 50 slip marina be allowed to do it? Either they're good ideas and there's ways of policing them, or they're bad ideas and there's no ways of policing them. But, I'm not sure that we should just have more kind of arbitrary distinctions between big and small.
I
Yes,
think
Oh, I totally agree with you, Rick. Oh, and also, nobody's saying that if it's an Airbnb, it's a houseboat. There's no distinction between that and chartering out your 47-foot sailboat and having people stay on it. But likewise, if I have my boat in a marina and I'm paying gigantic money to keep it there, and I got house guests and we got spillover and I want to put my guests on my boat, I sure don't want people saying, is this an Airbnb? Because, it costs an awful lot of money to own a boat, and not using it is the worst use of a boat. So
Yep.
That's a comment, and I'm sorry to just jump comments. My other comment is about St. Mary's Cove, is that the reason people aren't in St. Mary's Cove is because they don't want to be. And the fact that those moorings are $10 cheaper should be incentive for anybody with a 35-foot boat or less to go up there. And it's good for a boat to be able to go up there that's smaller, because they don't need to be taking up a 55-foot slip, a 55-foot mooring, and which is by definition going to be more expensive. So I would be careful what you wish for. I think you can put any kind of mooring you want up there, and it's not going to be utilized like out in the harbor will, unless it's blowing 30, and then people will move up there because of the chop. But beyond that, the view, the happening aspect is all out in the harbor, not in St. Mary's Cove. Thank you.
No, I hear you, Andy. However, all of our moorings are full all the time, even upriver, except for St. Mary's. So even so the numbers don't lie. So I can look at the numbers in Back Creek, and I can look at the money that's made on the moorings by Truxton Park. And those are heavily used because there are certain user group that don't want to be part in the front 40. They want quieter seas and they want peace. And I feel really confident. I know, because I can study the numbers, that those moorings will be heavily used if we can accommodate bigger boats.
I will I will stand by to see how it works out.
All right, any other comments? Peter?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Beth. For sure, the demand is for larger, there's more demand for larger boats. And so that's why St. Mary's is limited. And I always use those moorings because because it's a little quieter in there, but I think the demand has gone to a little bit bigger boats. So that's going to be a good investment. I think it'll pay off. That's my only comment. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Fagley and Mr. Trogdon seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kimberly unanimous. Everybody have a good evening. If you're gonna go out on the water tomorrow, go early, stay late, and go slow. Sneak in and out of Back Creek or Spa Creek. Don't go out the Severn until late. And then, by the way, there's a Wednesday night race that follows. So, and it's not
Okay, yeah.
it's not the race to get out of the harbor. It's the regular 8 West.
Of
So,
course.
But it's supposed to be a beautiful, beautiful day. So for a change, we've had a spectacular day today and a spectacular day tomorrow. And I was sorry to see Jake wasn't here tonight, but I understand why, because I was curious. I saw 2 of his boats coming in, and one of them had not come in yet. So I'm assuming he had everybody out on